All right, let's get this thing started. Shout out to my people. Where y'all at? I see my people in the building. Shout out to True Warrior, man. I appreciate you for dropping the cash at Mogul Maze. What it do, my bro? Yeah, man. You know I'm gonna keep coming. I'm gonna keep the content coming. Now, Dubs, he responded. He said that blacks are just stirring the pot. Now, you're gonna hear the video for yourself. He claims that blacks are just stirring the pot, and we have no reason to be making the videos that we make. We're just stirring the pot for views. Listen, Dubs, content is content. You talk about prison stories, that's what people want to hear from you. People like to hear me expose the racism that comes from your community. People like for me to talk about that, right? So you telling your prison stories is a part of your life, and it's all gravy for you to talk about prison all day, right? What goes on in prison, things like that. Okay. Well, if I want to expose the people, well, guess what? I don't even have to expose them. They expose themselves. I just do content to the things they say. So you can't point the finger at me or Damian Porter and say, we're stirring the pot. You guys are stirring the pot. You're talking about the raza for views. No, what I'm doing is making content, right? So you can call it stirring the pot. You can call it whatever you want. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. Your people say this, your people disrespect us. I respond, I make videos, I create content about it. I'm a content creator, so this is what I do. Now, black people standing up for ourselves, right? Speaking up for our people was somehow stirring the pot. That's what Dub said. I'm gonna show you how foolish that sounds. See, when Mexicans make videos about blacks, they're not stirring the pot. They're just speaking up for the raza. And you can look at the thumbnail. You can look at the thumbnail on this video. He said that we're stirring the pot, like we're starting stuff with Mexicans, like we're being the aggressors, and somehow we're just, creating this controversy, speaking on the raza, stirring the pot for views. He was speaking about black podcasters who call out Mexicans for saying the things that they say. So that's his take on the whole situation. Now he responded to Damian Porter's video. And in the video, he said, well, he didn't like what Damian Porter had to say. And Damian Porter was doing a reaction to my video about Cali hood legends. So he claimed, oh, I'm not going to say the other guys that Dubs, I don't need you to say my name, bro. Everybody knows who I am. It don't matter, homie. Mexicans know who I am. Blacks know who I am. Whites know who I am. Keep in mind, I never needed to use a Mexican for relevance on social media or anything. You ain't got to say my name. People already know who you talking about. Well, he said Damian Porter responded. See, he didn't like the fact that Damian Porter was responding to my video because he felt like, well, if Damian Porter is reacting to my video, if Damian Porter is reacting to one of my videos, he must agree with King Supreme. So Dubs didn't like the fact that Damian Porter agreed with me. So he made this video and saying that, oh man, blacks are just stirring the pot for controversy and views. you know, black and brown folk unite. That's never gonna happen, and I'm gonna tell you why that's not gonna happen. Let me see. We 5 minutes in. Okay, let's get into the video. This is fair use right here. This video is fair use. And I'm gonna get into it. Now, keep in mind, this ain't no beef, man. This ain't no beef. I'm not in my feelings. I'm a content creator. So what I do is I cover content. I speak on things, right, from a content creator's perspective, from my perspective, right? And it is what it is. Now I want you to listen to Dubs in a way. How could I put this? He wants us to believe that he don't agree with Cali Hood legends, but to a certain degree, he defended them because he said, "Oh, the Vato apologized. He did it out of respect and he took it down." No, this is the point. When Cali Hood legends called us to that racial slur, when he called us a mayate, you can tell that he talks like that on a regular. That's common language for him. Dubs is trying to downplay it by saying, "Oh, well, he took the video down and blacks are still tripping about it. He took the video down out of respect." Check this out. I'll let y'all hear it for yourself. Fair use.
Video. So, I'm over here taking care of some stuff around the pad, doing some laundry, cleaning the pad, and I throw on YouTube. And I guess because I watched two of his videos, now Damian Porter popped up again. And this was a very, very irritating video. It's a
This was a very irritating video. It wasn't irritating. Now, you might disagree with one or two things that he said, but for the most part, what he said was actually true. So what was so irritating about hearing the truth, Dubs? Ryan Garcia, a Mexican boxer, got caught calling black people monkeys and N-words. His dad was saying racial slurs. The LA City Council got caught using racial slurs. Mexicans in East LA, they firebombed the apartments of black civilians for just living there. Cali Hood legends get on YouTube and call us, you already know what. It's undeniable, Dubs. The LULAC organization said they don't want to unite with blacks. Mexicans belong to the Caucasian race. I can show you the video. So racism is a part of Latino Chicano culture. You get it from the Spanish conquistadors. You're in denial. You got Mexicans on YouTube right now telling us that, hey, man, we were raised to feel a certain way about blacks. It's a part of our culture. This is not my people saying this. This is your people saying this. And I know that to be true. Why? Because I studied Latino Chicano culture. I know where the anti-blackness comes from. I know where it stems from. You've been indoctrinated and brainwashed by the Spanish conquistadors. But according to Dubs, Damian Porter's video was just so irritating. It was just so hard to watch.
video where irritating video. Damian Porter popped up again. And this was a very, very irritating video. It's a video where there's a channel and Damian's reacting to the channel, right? And it's a black podcaster. And they're talking about Cali Legends Media. Now, let me preface this with this. Cali Legends Media and we don't care for each other. He puts out content about me every day or two, every 3 days, right? He's not somebody that likes my channel. I don't give a damn about his stuff. But at the end of the day, he is raza, right? And I watched.
So in other words, he's going to defend him. He doesn't like me. I don't like him, but he's still raza. So by him being raza, you're going to defend him because he's raza. So that was Dubs telling you, like, yeah, we ain't got to like each other, but he's raza, so I'm still going to defend him. Yeah.
This video, raza. He's not somebody that likes my channel. I don't give a damn about his stuff. But at the end of the day, he is raza, right? And I watched this video and First of all, he was wrong for the word that he used. And he knew he was wrong and he took that out. He took that down, right? That video, those portions, whatever. I didn't go and watch this video. I watched the video. Like I said, I'm listening to it as I'm fucking doing laundry and dishes and stuff, right? Cleaning up the pad. After, day after Christmas, you know how it is. Now, he used a word he shouldn't have used, right? And Damien made it a point to say that the word that he used, somebody up high must be condoning it. Damien, who do you ask for before you do a video? Who do you ask for? Who do you get word from to do your videos? Nobody. He doesn't either. I don't. Not one person on social media goes and asks somebody, hey, can you review this video and let me know if it's cool? On top of that, not one.
What he was saying was this. Now, he might have been wrong about that. I believe that Cali Hood Legends was speaking for itself. But the bigger picture is this, what Damien was saying, and Damien can speak for itself. This is just my opinion. Damien was saying a lot of this anti-blackness comes from the higher ups in a Chicano, Mexicano community. Now, we understand that he probably doesn't need permission to make a video to say whatever he wants to say. I'm speaking about Cali Hood Legends. But there is a hierarchy in the Mexican community where you guys do have to get permission to do certain things. Now, maybe that's not the case with YouTube videos, but overall, you understand what Damien is saying. Let's not play semantics here. Let's not play the semantics game. It is what it is.
Content creator speaks for any. On top of that, not one content creator speaks for anyone. Not one content creator speaks for their hood or their barrio. They speak for themselves. And all of the content creators that are trying to create an issue between brown and black, I see what it is. I see what you're doing. And it's disingenuous because you know you don't speak for nobody but yourself and nobody else does.
Well, Dubs, tons of black people agree with me, just like tons of Mexicans agree with Cali Hood Legends when he called us the you know what. Tons of Mexicans agree with that because they use the word. They might not admit it publicly, but they agree with Cali Hood Legends. Thousands of black people agree with the things that I say about the raza, the Mexican community. Why? Because they've had experience with you guys. Yes, I speak for myself, but at the same time, I speak for, think about it. No, I'm not just speaking for myself because there's thousands, if not millions of people who agree with me. So don't try to make it seem like I'm just saying something that nobody agrees with. Come on, bro.
And it's disingenuous because you know you don't speak for nobody but yourself and nobody else does. But we all have a responsibility for what comes out of our mouth because it can affect the emotions and the mindset of other people that listen to us.
Well, Sonny said the raza needs to march in heavy protest to stop blacks from getting reparations. Tell them no. So that might affect the mindset and the emotions of people who are watching. You're right, Sonny. We do need to march against blacks getting reparations. We do need to protest against black reparations. Huh? He said he wants the raza to march in heavy protests. And guess what? There was a gang of Mexicans in the comment section who agreed with him. So don't make it seem like these people are just speaking for themselves. There's thousands, if not millions of people who agree with that message. Just like you got thousands, if not millions of black people who agree with the things I say.
I also want to say Lucky is the guy's name, not Lucky from Hoodstocks, Lucky from Cali Legends Media. He in one portion he talks about Spotyface and says Spotyface has 97 followers. That's two different people. I talked about it in my video the other day. There's a youngster not named Spotyface. There's a youngster that had 97 followers and said he was so mad he wanted to punch Lucky from Hoodstocks in the face. So I don't know if Cali Legends Media didn't go and watch that youngster's video. I don't know where the problem was, but you know, if we're gonna put out a video, we gotta be, every one of us, like I said, we have a responsibility to be as accurate as possible. And if we find out we are inaccurate, we need to like take it down or come out and say, hey, you know what? I made a mistake here. This is who it was. This and that. Spotyface didn't say nothing disrespectful to the raza. He said something to Lucky from Hoodstocks.
Now, this is the crazy thing about it. Now, Sonny, you got a Mexican old man who calls me a racist. Yet I never used derogatory terms towards Mexicans. When I said border hoppers, I was speaking about illegal immigrants. Anybody who crosses the border illegally is considered a border hopper. That's not a racial slur. You crossing the border illegally is an action. And by definition, that is a border hopper. The only thing is the majority of our illegal immigrants happen to be Mexicans. Why? Because we share a border with Mexico. So if you look at the illegal immigration population in the United States, the majority will be Mexican. Why? Because we share a border with Mexico. But at the same time, you got border hoppers who are from other countries as well, not just Mexico. Mexico just happened to represent the majority of border hoppers. But calling somebody a border hopper is not a racial slur. Anybody can be a border hopper if you cross the border illegally. So instead of Sonny calling Cali Hood Legends racist for calling us the Maya, no, he calls me a racist for calling out border hoppers. So he tried to compare border hoppers to the Maya word, and clearly it's not the same. What I said, border hopping is an action. When you call somebody a Mayat, you already get what I'm saying. That right there is a racial slur. Calling somebody out for being a border hopper, that is not a racial slur. I'm calling you out for your actions. You're crossing the border illegally, so by definition, you are border hopping. Homie, come on, homie, let's set the record straight.
I said that in my video. I showed the contrast being what OG Gumby did, disrespecting all the raza, saying all the raza are enemies, and how Spotyface called out one individual, right? And, as Damian Porter and the other dude, I don't ever say his name because all he does is talk bad about raza. Any raza podcaster he talks bad about, but you see, that's not in.
So he's saying I talk bad about any raza podcast, which is a complete lie. Now, when they say things that is crazy and disrespectful, yes, then I'll call it out. But do I have any hatred or animosity? No, I'm a content creator. So he said the other guy, I'm not going to say his name because all he does is talk bad about raza.
And, as and the other dude, I don't ever say his name because all he does is talk bad about raza. Any raza podcaster he talks bad about, but you see, that's not in Damian's video. It's not. It never will be, right? And I don't have nothing against Damian. I know Damian personally. We met over 30 years ago, man, right? We don't, this YouTube thing got in the way, and so we don't converse anymore. It is what it is. Neither one of us are tripping, right? But I find it really funny how they're saying that why would they pull up to Whittier? I'm glad nobody pulled up to Whittier. And they're saying there should have been man, Lucky from Hoodstocks is not from Whittier. Whittier is a neutral area. Lucky.
Let me show you how foolish this dude is. Whittier is not a neutral area. And let me tell you why, because that was his event. I already know that Lucky from Hoodstocks is from Highland Park. Whittier is not his radio. But guess what? That was his event, which means he had all of his people with him. So that's not a neutral zone. If I throw an event outside of my hood, but I still got my people with me, and I tell somebody to pull up, I have the advantage. Why? Because this is my event. So I understand that Whittier is not his video. His video is in Northeast LA, Highland Park. I'm from LA. I know how to get to Highland Park. I know the difference between Highland Park and Whittier, but yet and still, that was Lucky's event. which means that Lucky had the advantage because he had his people with him. So why would I pull up to somebody's event looking for a fade, looking to start problems? If something happens, it's going to look like I was the aggressor because why? I pulled up to somebody's event. You sound crazy. Anytime you pull up to somebody's event looking for problems, you're going to be the one to go to jail because they're going to look at it like you're causing problems because you pulled up to that person's event. You sound crazy.
Would they pull up to Whittier verse anymore? It is what it is. Neither one of us are tripping, right? But I find it really funny how they're saying that
if somebody tells you to pull up to their event and you pull up and do something to them, you're going to get in trouble because you pulled up to their event. That would have been dumb for Sporty Face to pull up to his event. The right thing to do is, hey man, let's find a neutral ground. This is not going to be my event. This is not going to be my hood. It's going to be neutral territory. We're going to get in the ring and everything's going to be legal. Nobody's going to get shot. Nobody's going to get jumped. Nobody's going to jail. Let's get in the ring and do it the legal way. That's how you take care of business. Why would I pull up to somebody's event and the police is watching? I pull up to your event looking for problems. Something happens. I'm going to get the blame because I pulled up to somebody else's event. Come on, Dubs. Come on, Dubs. You're an old man. Use common sense. Lucky could easily claim self-defense if somebody pulls up to his event looking for problems. Anytime you got gangbangers meeting up in the streets, you run the risk of somebody getting shot, somebody getting stabbed, something bad happening. Now people who ain't got nothing to do with it getting hurt and they're going to jail. So in order to avoid all of that, he said, let's meet in the ring. You ain't got to pull up to my hood. You ain't got to pull up to my event. Let's do this on a neutral ground. But of course, Dubs don't understand that. Crazy.
not in Damien's video. It's not. It never will be, right? And I don't have nothing against Damien. I know Damien personally. We met over 30 years ago, man. Right? We don't, this YouTube thing got in the way, and so we don't converse anymore. It is what it is. Neither one of us are tripping, right? But I find it really funny how they're saying that. Why would they pull up to Whittier? I'm glad nobody pulled up to Whittier. And they're saying there should have been a man. Lucky from Hoodstocks is not from Whittier. Whittier is a neutral area.
No, it's not. That was Lucky's event. So it was not a neutral area. There's no blacks in Whittier. Let's set the record straight. There's no blacks in Whittier, only Mexicans and white people, and maybe some Asians. And on top of that, that was Lucky's event. He had all his homeboys and associates with him. That was not a neutral ground for Sporty Face. You sound crazy.
Lucky from Hoodstocks had that event already set up before the whole backlash. But for anybody from the streets, from the criminal world, a gangster, a gangbanger, whatever you want to call yourself, right? For you to say Sporty Face called him out and he ducked the fade when he said, nah, I'm not going to get in the ring, but we can get it in the streets. How is that ducking a fade? Who in the hell makes rules in a street fight? Who in the fuck makes rules that anybody lives by in the hood, in the wild?
He didn't make the rules. He said, let's agree to this. He wasn't trying to make the rule. He said, we can agree to meet up somewhere. We can agree to meet up somewhere neutral. See, I don't know why these Mexicans are playing dumb. He said, we can come together and agree to meet up somewhere neutral. We can get in the ring and it'll be legal. Ain't nobody got to get shot. Ain't nobody got to go to jail. The thing is, Lucky didn't want to get in the ring and get embarrassed. So he tried to make it about some street stuff and instead of a one-on-one fight in a ring. So he wanted to make it about some street stuff. If I tell somebody, if somebody say, catch my fade, and I'm like, hey, man, we can get it in the streets. Well, maybe you don't want to fight. And I'm not saying Lucky doesn't have to fight. Lucky is not obligated to fight Sporty Face. I understand that. But don't spin it and twist it. If Sporty Face said, hey, homeboy, let's avoid people going to jail. Let's avoid people getting shot. Because if I pull up to your event on some BS, something bad is going to happen. People are going to get hurt. People are going to go to jail. So in order to avoid all of that, let's get in the ring. It ain't got to be at my spot. It ain't got to be at your spot. We can agree to do it somewhere neutral, and we can just hop in the ring and do it like that. Therefore, nobody goes to jail. Nobody gets hurt. That is ducking the fade. When you tell somebody to meet me in the streets after turning down the fade, what that I'm gonna tell you what that means. You don't want to get in the ring because you don't want to get embarrassed. So you tell somebody to pull up to your event. Who's stupid enough to pull up to somebody's event looking for problems? Because if something happened to Lucky or anybody up there, guess what? Sporty Face is going to jail. Why? Because that's Lucky's event. The first thing they're going to say is, well, Sporty Face had no business pulling up to that event in the first place. So he was in the wrong. He's going back to prison. Because keep in mind, if you got a bunch of gangbangers meeting up in a neutral zone, there's a high probability that something is going to happen. Somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody's going to jail. Somebody's going to prison. Sporty Face didn't say, hey, you need to meet me at this particular spot. He said, let's agree to meet up somewhere neutral, not at my event, not at your event. That's what he said. Pulling up to Whittier is not a neutral zone because that was Lucky's event. He had all his homies with him, his associates with him. Come on, man. Let's use common sense.
Man, why don't we make content of trying to get people from the black and brown community up out of there? Compton Rick Rock said it last week. He is not seen in the streets the hatred between the black and brown community that he's seen on the motherfucking internet.
You can't use Compton Rick Rock to co-sign what you're saying. Shout out to Compton Rick Rock. Compton Rick Rock don't want to be involved in none of this drama, man. He just makes his content for everybody to like, for everybody to love. And shout out to Compton Rick Rock. I got love for Compton Rick Rock. But you can't use Compton Rick Rock to co-sign what you're saying. Compton Rick Rock got enough common sense to understand what's going on. Compton Rick Rock don't want to get involved in the drama. Compton Rick Rock just want to make content and get his money. And shout out to Compton Rick Rock. I respect dude for that. Compton Rick Rock is from the streets of Compton. He didn't already been to prison, so he didn't come to YouTube to get in drama. He came to YouTube to create content and to get his bread. And I can't even be mad at that. Salute to Compton Rick Rock, bro. I see you out there, boy.
Content creators got to stop doing this, man. Not seen in the streets. Man, why don't we make content of trying to get people from the black and brown community up out of there? Compton Rick Rock said it last week. He is not seen in the streets the hatred between the black and brown community that he's seen on the motherfucking internet. Content creators got to stop doing this, man. You are not going to be on the front line. So stop encouraging others to do that.
Nobody's encouraging nobody to create to do harm to one another. You can watch all my videos. Now, if people are in their feelings over a YouTube video, then that's their fault for having a low IQ and being way too emotional. I never told my people to harm anybody. Damian Porter never told people to harm anybody. None of the black content creators that I saw, you might have one or two knuckleheads, but the majority of us are just making content. We're not promoting violence against anybody. We're simply calling out the anti-blackness that comes from your community. We are simply calling out the anti-blackness that comes from your community. I'm not promoting violence. I'm not telling my subscribers and fans to harm anybody. That's not what I do. You can't find one video of me saying that. And I speak for the majority of black content creators. They're not promoting violence against Mexicans. We are simply calling out the anti-blackness that comes from your community. That is about it. Nobody's promoting violence against anyone. Let's set the record straight with that.
Not seen in the streets the hatred between the black and brown community that he's seen on the motherfucking internet. Content creators got to stop doing this, man. You are not going to be on the front line. So stop encouraging others to do that. It's irresponsible as hell. Those of us old enough to remember, and everybody talking right now, I don't know about the other guy. I don't know how old he is, but Damien, you know. Lucky, both of the Luckies, like everybody knows of a certain age, that when the war happened 30 fucking years ago between the black and the brown in certain areas, a lot of innocent people got hurt, lost their lives.
I'm from Los Angeles, Dubs. You from Santa Barbara. Now, you might have seen warfare in prison, but you never seen warfare on the streets between black and brown. I'm not a prison guy. You know, I've caught gun cases, dope cases, but I've never served a significant amount of time because guess what? I was able to wiggle my way up out of things just based on the lack of evidence in the majority of these cases that I caught. But I'm no stranger to catching cases. I'm no stranger to the streets. I'm from Los Angeles, homeboy. My community has went to war with black hoods and Mexican hoods. A Mexican gang came and wrote some graffiti on my house back in the 90s because I lived on the border between their hood and my hood, kind of closer to their hood. And I'm not even gonna drop no names about what hood it is because that's not the point here. I know what it's like for I know what it's like to be at odds or at war with a Mexican Chicano community. I come from Los Angeles, you know, not the Valley, the West Adams Mid City District. So I know what it is. I know what it was back in the 90s. My Mexican neighbor lost his life during that black and brown war. And he was one of my close friends. And I hate that that happened to him. Right? He was a landscaper. He was a mechanic. He used to do work for my family. So when he lost his life, it was, you know, it was heartbreaking because he was a childhood friend. The same way that I know black people who lost their lives in the 90s during this gang/racial conflict. So I know what it is. I lost people who I know personally on both sides. So I know what it is growing up in LA, bro. Nah, man, hit the like button. But we're not promoting violence. We're just holding people accountable for the things they say. We're calling out the anti-blackness that's coming from your community. I'm not promoting violence against anyone. Neither is Damian Porter, neither is Bobby Yeye. Now it's not, we're not scared of anybody, but at the same time, we're not promoting violence. We're just speaking up for our people. But don't get it twisted for 1 second. We're not promoting violence against your people. No, that's not what it is.
Who wants to see that again? A lot of innocent people, everybody knows of a certain age that when the war happened 30 fucking years ago between the black and the brown in certain areas, a lot of innocent people got hurt, lost their lives. Who wants to see that again? People on social media need to stop stirring a pot that they ain't in. Let's go back to making content because I'm going to tell you right now. I know, Damien, I know you're chasing your money. I know I'm chasing my money. Every one of us as a content creator, this is a business. You keep talking violence, especially between two powder keg communities. Advertisers are going to say, man, I ain't trying to put a commercial on them. If I am, I'm going to pay them the least amount of money. People are, man, it really is a trip. It just goes back to like the schooling that people have. Lucky from Cali Legends Media used a term that I know he would say it was wrong. And like I said, he and I don't see eye to eye on shit. But he doesn't speak for anyone but himself. He gives his point of view, just like I do, just like Damien does, and just like every other content creator does. Stop trying to say anyone is speaking for the raza. I damn sure know that nobody's speaking for the black community. So this stuff needs to end, man. Let's get back to making content, good content that people want to see.
Yes, we can get back to making good content, but obviously, if we're doing this for views, then that means that people want to see it. You can't say that let's get back to making content that we want to see, but then you say black content creators are stirring the pot for views. So it's obvious that people want to hear it. It's obvious that people want to see it because if that wasn't the case, people wouldn't watch it. So you got to make up your mind. So it's obvious this is content that people want to see. People want to hear it. People want to know what's going on between the black and brown communities. People that's not even, listen, people all across the world tap in to hear what's going on. So it's obvious that they want to hear it. It's obvious that they want to see it. Regardless of how you feel about it, you got tons of people who want to hear things from our perspective. They want to hear about what's going. They want to hear about the situation between blacks and browns in Los Angeles or California in general. Tons of people tap in to hear what's going on. So it's obvious that a lot of people want to hear it. You might consider it to be toxic, but in reality, listen, homie, I could easily say that your prison content is toxic. Why serve 24 years in prison just to talk about prison every day as a free man? I could say that that's toxic content. Why would a man who spent the majority of his life in prison want to talk about prison every day? I get it. You make money talking about prison. It's obvious that people want to hear about prison. That's why they watch your videos. Okay, well, it's obvious that people want to hear about black and brown differences. What's the root of the problem? It's obvious that people want to hear it. So if it's okay for people to listen to your prison stories, then it's okay for people to listen to my content about black and brown issues.
Only ones that want to hear this type of bull are the people with hatred in their hearts. And you're pouring gas on it for them. I don't know, man. I had no intentions of making another video today, but this has got to go out today. People saying hold someone accountable, and yet we have all these black content creators who have spoken so much hatred towards the raza.
Black content creators are speaking hatred towards the raza, and no one's holding them accountable, SA. Seriously? Speaking hatred? I'm not speaking hatred. I'm just speaking on the obvious. I'm not sugarcoat. I refuse to sugarcoat what's going on between blacks and Mexicans. I'm not going to do that. That's not spreading hatred. See, when we call them out for the things they do, you know what they say? We're spreading hatred. We're stirring the pot for views. This is crazy.
Not one people saying hold someone accountable, and yet we have all these black content creators who have spoken so much hatred towards the raza. Not one person has come out and said, hey, man, that shit ain't cool.
You got so many black content creators speaking hatred towards the raza. Now you're going to play victim dubs. Lucky is the one that called us a mayata. No. But now you're going to play the victim like black content creators are just disrespecting the raza? Come on, dubs. Don't play victim, man. Black content creators ain't making content about Mexicans for no reason. They have a reason to make the videos that they've been making. Sonny, another Mexican from East LA, well, he's from Burbank. He ain't from East LA. But Sonny said that the raza needs to march and protest against our reparations. I've made videos calling out that. He got a problem with the word border hopper, but him marching against our reparations, that's all gravy, baby. And Sonny tried to paint the picture like Real Supreme is just mad that I disagree with reparations. No. If Sonny would have said I disagree with reparations and left it at that, then there's no conversation. Sonny said he wants the raza to march in heavy protest against our reparations. And our reparations ain't got nothing to do with Mexicans. You know what Sonny said? Sonny said, oh, well, we're going to have to pay taxes if we give blacks reparations. Guess what, Sonny? The state of California alone has spent billions of dollars on illegal immigrants. Our tax dollars, they're using our tax dollars to fund illegal immigrants. Billions of dollars have been spent in 1 year feeding illegal immigrants, and the majority of them come from Mexico. See, Sonny ain't got a problem with our tax dollars feeding illegal immigrants and border hoppers. Why? Because those are his people, so he ain't got a problem with that. But he made it seem like, oh, man, it's going to, if we give blacks reparations, that'll collapse the economy. No, it won't. Because guess what? Slavery built America's economy. The free labor that foundational black Americans gave this country, that is what built America's economy. That is how America got wealthy. Countless inventions. You know how many things that Black Americans created that white folks took credit for? They got wealthy off of our inventions. They got wealthy off of our free labor. Slavery, chattel slavery in the United States built America's economy, hands down. Prior to that, there was no money here. America got wealthy from our free labor. Study the history if you don't believe me. I know what I'm talking about. So I make content calling out people like that. I make content calling out people. I make content calling out people who say African booty scratchers or people who call us mayata or whatever. Exposing, listen, exposing. Well, I'm not exposing anything. They expose themselves when they put it on the internet. When I make content about that, that's not spreading hatred. I'm spreading awareness. I'm calling out the anti-Blackness that's coming from your community. That is not me spreading hatred. That is not me spreading hatred. Let me say that again.
And you go. People saying hold someone accountable, and yet
make sure that you guys bless the Cash App and support the show. I appreciate the people who are supporting the content because sometimes, you know, the advertisers do get mad when we make controversial content. So they put limited or no ads on some of the videos. So make sure that you guys support the content because I speak for my foundational Black American brothers and sisters. I'm going to stand on business. I'm going to continue to stand on business. When I cover content like that, when I call people out for their anti-Blackness, that's not me spreading hatred. I'm spreading awareness to my people about the anti-Blackness that's coming from your community. Let's set the record straight. Let's not play games here.
We have.
When American Cholo went up to No Jumper 50D because he was mad at Chaiga's Ay Caramba video, we could have easily said, oh, the Mexicans are spreading hate. But in Mexicans will say, well, we were just defending the raza for the disrespect. But when Black people speak up for their people, does want to say, oh, you guys are spreading hate. Nah, calling out this buffoonery is not spreading hate. Now he's saying none of the Black content creators are being held. Hold us accountable for what? You want people to hold me accountable for calling out the anti-Blackness in your community? You want my people to call me out for speaking the truth? Man, you crazy.
All these Black content creators who have people saying hold someone accountable, and yet we have all these Black content creators who have spoken so much hatred towards the raza.
The raza.
Not one person has come on and said, hey, man, that shit ain't cool.
You got so many Black content creators speaking hatred towards the raza. Come on, bro. Calling the raza out for their anti-Blackness is not spreading hate. You want my people to call me out for speaking the truth about your community? That's not going to happen. Because I never use any racial slurs to describe your people. Border hopping is an action. Anybody can be a border hopper if you cross the border illegally. By definition, that is border hopping. So you want my people to call me out for speaking the truth about the anti-Blackness that comes from your community. That ain't gonna never happen, homeboy.
Black. I had no intentions of making another video today. This has got to go out today. People saying hold someone accountable, and yet we have all these Black content creators who have spoken so much hatred towards the raza. Not one person has come on and said, hey, man, that shit ain't cool. And you go and look in the comment sections of those platforms, and it's all support for the vitriol, for the hatred. So don't talk about accountability. Again, how about we
can talk about accountability. Your people have a loose alliance with white supremacists in prison. Now, of course, Dubs is going to deny that, but it's a known fact. Your people formed an alliance with white supremacists in prison. You share things with them. You share the same in the yard with them. You can share goodies with them. Why don't you hold your people accountable for taking the sides of white supremacists? The same people who deported you, the same people who stole Mexico, as you guys like to say. The Europeans stole things from you guys, not black people. Black people ain't never took anything from you. Mexicans been robbed by the British and the Spanish. Two different European groups. So every time the Mexicans been colonized or belittled, put down, it was Europeans who did that to them. But when you go to prison, you form a loose alliance with the same Europeans who have historically screwed over the Mexican community. Make it make sense, fool. I'm going to form an alliance with Europeans, even though it was Europeans who stole Mexico, well, the Spaniards conquered Mexico and took a lot of things from you guys. Then the British took things from you guys as well. So why would you want to form an alliance with Europeans? Black people ain't never stole anything from you guys. We might have had some street beefs, but hey, we have street beefs with one another. I'm going to form a loose alliance with white supremacists in prison because I hate the blacks just like they hate the blacks. Come on, homie. We understand what it is.
Focus on getting our youngsters in our communities to be better people. To get it. So don't talk about accountability. Again, how about we focus on getting our youngsters in our communities to be better people? To get off the damn hamster wheel. To make a better life. To get money. The real way. Stay out of prison. Stay out of jail. And get up out of the hood. Get out of the barrio. I think that's more important. That's a greater impact. Putting a weapon in somebody's hand, planting a seed of hatred in somebody's heart and mind, you got no love for whoever you did that to, especially if you lived that life and you got lucky enough to get out of it and be successful out here.
All right, enough of that. Enough of that. I think we didn't heard enough. I think we didn't heard enough of the content, man. Shout out to my people, man. All I'm saying is this: there's no hatred. You know, there's no hatred. I never promoted violence against any other group. On this show. Watch this. Hit the like button. Show some love to the content. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you look at the LULAC organization, um, these are their civil rights leaders. Their civil rights leaders had an anti-black mindset, right? And you understand why? Because they was brainwashed by the Spanish conquistadors. The LA City Council was caught saying racist things about blacks. Louis Martinez, Kevin De Leon, and two other people. This was the LA City Council spreading anti-blackness. Ryan Garcia and his daddy was talking reckless about black people. You got Mexican gang members. So listen, they're politicians, they're athletes, they're gangbangers. It don't matter. They all have this anti-black mindset, right? And I showed the videos to prove it. Anti-blackness is clearly a part of their culture. From the politicians to the athletes to the gang members to their civil rights leaders. Southern California Mexicans formed a loose alliance with white supremacists in prison. This is a known fact. So we're not going to sugarcoat the facts. We're going to give you the truth. You guys are allies with racists. And what he's going to say is, well, we went to war. Of course, you go to war with them sometimes because you have fallouts and disagreements. But at the same time, this is a known fact that Southern California Mexicans have went to war with blacks and they linked up with white supremacists. They took the side of white supremacists against blacks to create warfare in prisons and certain county jails. This is a known fact. Now I do know that Mexicans and whites do get it, they get into it, but Mexicans get into it with each other. So of course they're going to get into it with whites from time to time. But at the end of the day, Mexicans and white people can share things with each other in prison. Mexicans and blacks cannot share things with each other in prison. That is forbidden. So it's cool for them to share items with the white man. It's cool for them to share the same side of the yard as the white man, but they can't do none of this with the black man. And I'm not saying that we need to share anything with Mexicans as black people, because we don't. I'm just proving a point. And the point is, Southern California Mexicans have formed a loose alliance with white supremacists in prison. If you study Latino culture in Mexico and all across Latin America, there was a lot of anti-blackness in those communities. There's a lot of anti-blackness in that culture. If you don't believe me, I'm gonna show you a video. Watch this. There's videos. Let's go right here. And this is not a black person saying it. There's plenty of Mexicans who are real enough to admit that anti-blackness comes from their culture.
The case us, Mexican people, brown people, it is impossible for us to come to have any sort. The reason why I personally have a problem with brown or black people talking about unity amongst brown and black people is because it's literally impossible for a people, in this particular case us, Mexican people, brown people, it is impossible for us to come together with black people because we are inherently and culturally racist. Our culture is very anti-black, and it's not our original and true culture. This is post-colonial culture.
This is post-colonial culture, which means they got it from the Spanish conquistadors. And it's not just in Mexico. Anti-blackness is a big thing all across Latin America, not just in Mexico. If you go to any country where the Spanish have colonized and conquered, then it's the same anti-black mindset. Ricardo was just real enough to admit that. Most Mexicans will never admit that, but when you know the truth, you just know the truth. Anti-blackness is a part of their culture. George Lopez said it. Even Lefty Gunplay said, "Man, if my daughter came home with a black guy, I'd be like, what the hell?" Because he was real enough to say that our people don't like blacks. That's why they'll be so upset if their daughters came home with a black man, but they wouldn't be upset if their daughters came home with a white man. Lefty Gunplay admitted that. George Lopez, the comedian, admitted that. Come on, homie, this is common knowledge.
Due to the Spaniard colonizers that implemented the caste system, racist. Our culture is very anti-black, and it's not our original and true culture. This is post-colonial culture. This is due to the Spaniard colonizers that implemented their caste system into our culture, and therefore we have been seeing the world with the eyes of our colonizers. And meanwhile, we out here marching with signs that say brown and black unity. The truth is that in our household, we tell our sisters, we tell our daughters not to date y'all, to stay away from y'all. And if we find out, well, one of our aunties, one of our sisters, one of our daughters had a kid with one of you, we shame them. We even disown them. We want nothing to do with them. This is a very common thing to happen. So the reality is that we, as a people that have been anti-black for a couple of hundred years since colonialism, we can't possibly try to convince black people about brown and black unity. We can't. It's impossible because we're still very anti-black. How can we, as an anti-black people, convince you about brown and black unity when if you really think about it, it's just the truth and it's clear as day? How can we try to convince you about brown and black unity when the reality is just a surface? It's a surface thing. Meaning, can we convince you to join us in helping us systemically somehow? That's what brown and black unity has always meant between us. As long as we do not confront the anti-blackness in our Mexican culture, we will never be able to have any sort of coalition. Not a true one. It's always going to be surfacey, and it's always going to be about using one another. As long as there is internalized racism, colorism comes into play, and anti-blackness comes into play. And ironically, I do these videos, and I always talk and address the
You do know most blacks in America never even experienced Mexicans. Blacks outside of the West Coast don't really have too much experience with Mexicans like that. They don't. Black people didn't grow up thinking about Mexicans. We were talking about white supremacy in the system. But Mexicans and Latinos grew up with an anti-black mindset. Why? Because they've been brainwashed and conquered by the Spanish conquistadors. That's where that anti-blackness stems from. That's the root of it. Ricardo was just real enough to admit it. I've been talking about this a long time. The Spanish conquistadors brainwashed them to feel a certain way about blacks. That's not just in Mexico, it's all over Latin America. That is the culture. Viva raza, however they say it, that's to whiten up the race, to get rid of the black gene and to whiten up the race. I gave you guys a video. I told you Mexicans fought to be legally white at one particular time in the 1930s. The LULAC organization, John J. Herrera, said that Mexicans belong to the Caucasian race, and these were their civil rights leaders. The LULAC organization, League of United Latin American Citizens. That's what LULAC stands for. Their civil rights leaders fought for white acceptance. And if you don't believe me, I'll show you the video.
Anti-blackness in our culture, and most of the people that have a problem with the things that I talked.
Mija la raza. Look up Mija la raza. That means to whiten up the race. That means to get closer to whiteness. That means to fight for white acceptance. If you look at the 1930s, don't take my word for it, do your own research. You will see that Mexicans actually fought to be legally white. I'm not making this up. I'm not making it up. You can study it for yourself. They didn't fight for people of color. They didn't fight for Mexicans to have better opportunities for being people of color. They fought so that Mexicans could be labeled white. They wanted Mexicans to be legally white because they felt like that's the only way that Mexicans would have opportunities. They have to be looked as the same as white people, when in reality white people will never accept you for being white. Mexicans had to find out the hard way. But their civil rights leaders, don't get it twisted for 1 second, the LULAC organization, they fought to be legally white. They wanted Mexicans to just be looked at as white folks, when in reality, that's never going to work because whites will never truly accept you for being white. That'll never happen.
About regarding the subject matter are Mexican people. Bro, why are you making us look bad? You see,
I know, because Vincent Guerrero was I think Vincent Guerrero was the second president of Mexico. Vincent Guerrero nickname was El Negro. Vincent Guerrero abolished slavery in Mexico. The blacks in Mexico played a major role in Mexico gaining their independence from Spain. Gaspar Yanga was a black man in Mexico, in southern Mexico. He fought off the Spanish, defeated the Spanish in several battles. The blacks who went to Mexico, the Black Seminoles, Florida was once a Spanish territory. So there was a native tribe in Florida. When they say pretendians, they don't know what they're talking about. There was a tribe in Florida called the Black Seminoles. These were black people and natives who had mixed together, and they had their own tribe, right? It was called the Black Seminoles. The Black Seminoles went to Mexico. And when they went to Mexico, they helped Mexico to fight off the Spanish, because guess what? The Black Seminoles was already putting belt to the behind of the Spaniards in Florida. So the Mexican government said, okay, they're already used to fighting against Spaniards. Let's bring some more of these people down into Mexico to help us in our struggle and our fight against Spain. So the blacks who lived in Mexico played a major role in Mexico gaining their independence from Spain. They fought in a war against the Spanish, the black people in Mexico. That is a fact.
I look bad because I'm forcing us to confront the anti-blackness, but then you are a hypocrite going out there and trying to convince black people about coming together with us. You cannot come together with the people that you are anti. You can't. And I actually had a guest come up here one time and started crying here. It was a black dude. He had a child with a Salvadorian woman. He came up here and said, hey, Ricardo, I had a child.
Shout out to Ambitions as a rider. I'm just giving you the facts. Blacks in Mexico wasn't freeloading. They was down there fighting against the Spanish. Vincent Guerrero, nickname was El Negro. He was fighting for the civil rights of melanated, dark-skinned people in Mexico because when Spain ruled Mexico, it was white supremacy. Even when the Spaniards left, they assassinated Vincent Guerrero because he was fighting too hard for melanated people in Mexico. Why do you think Mexico barely added their black population to the census 10 years ago? Black people in Mexico barely got added to the Constitution a few years ago, and blacks played a major role in their, in Mexico gaining their independence from Spain. But you barely add these people to the census. You barely add them to the Constitution a few years ago. So it shows you the anti-blackness that comes from Mexico. Let's go.
The Salvadorian. And I'm trying to figure out, like, no matter how nice I am, no matter how respectful, like, I'm always trying to be, like, very offering to the family. They just don't like me. Like, you as a Latino, what do you think I'm doing wrong? And what can I do to fix this? And I said, you could do nothing. What are you doing wrong? You're black. There's nothing you can do about it. These are a people that have been culturally anti-black. You can do nothing. What is the mistake that you made? It's simple. You had a child and did it.
If you look up the founders of Los Angeles, a lot of the founders of Los Angeles were black melanated people, at least half of them. Blacks been in the Americas. When you think about native tribes, let's get real. Listen, a lot of black people got reclassified as Negro. But don't get it twisted for 1 second. A lot of these native tribes in America, some of them were black. The Black Seminoles, look at the Black Seminoles. There's a lot of native tribes that was in, you had native tribes in California that were melanated people. You had native tribes on the East Coast, like in Florida, South Carolina. These were black indigenous people. These people were here way before any European set foot on American soil. Black, we are the original people of planet Earth. You got blacks on every continent. But of course, a lot of Latinos were told that, hey, the blacks only came on slave ships because they're uneducated. They've been brainwashed by the Spanish conquistadors. So of course they're going to run with that, and they're going to spread that buffoonery, that fake history to their people, not knowing that there's been black indigenous people on this land for centuries prior to any European setting foot on this land. That is a known fact. The Mayans and the Aztecs were dark-skinned melanated people. They look nothing like these Mexicans you see today. So when you see a lot of Mexicans getting Aztec tattoos, that's not an accurate depiction of who the Aztecs were. If you study the history of the Aztecs, these were swarthy people. What is swarthy? That means dark-skinned, melanated people. The Mexicans you see today look nothing like the Aztecs, look nothing like the Mayans. The Mayans and the Aztecs did not have Spaniard European blood. The Mexicans you see today are almost 50% European because the Spanish conquistadors colonized. Let me tell you something. Like if you go to Africa right now, there's different tribes. Not all, you got different tribes of Africans. They have different languages and different cultures. Same thing with the natives in America. They had different languages and different cultures, different skin tones, different textures, different phenotypes. Not all, they wanted to paint the picture. They lied to you and told you that all these natives looked the same when clearly they were not all the same. Some of them were melanated, some of them were red-skinned. And we already know that the Asians came across the Bering Straits and they came down to the Americas later. But you had black indigenous people that was already here prior to any of these Asiatics or Asians or whatever you want to call them before they came down from the Bering Strait to populate America. You already had black indigenous tribes here thousands of years ago. I know these people hate to see it, and I know they're windmilling and punching the air right now, but the black man is the original man on planet Earth. You got black people on every continent on this planet. That is a fact. And I know they're going to say, no, that's not true. I expect you to say that. You've been brainwashed by a Spanish conquistador to the point to where you became a Spanish conquistador because you're spreading fake history. The original Aztecs and Mayans were melanated, dark-skinned people. They look nothing like these Mexicans you see today.
Go out of your way to find out what kind of people, what kind of family are you getting involved in. You had a child before you found out what you're getting yourself into. As a matter of fact, I had a friend that I was hanging out with. I was friends with this individual for over 10 years. And where he lived, there was all kinds of people that live in that neighborhood, white tea, brown people. But then across the street from him, those people that lived there, they left, and then a black family moved in there. And when I pulled up to come hang out, he started expressing the frustration. And I said, "What's up? What's up, man?" He's like, "Man, those N words over there just moved in." And I said to myself, "You got all these white tea people, and you're okay with it. You're perfectly fine with these people living here. But as soon as a black person moves in across the street, now you're all stressed out." And I was telling my friend, because the friend of mine that I was talking to, I asked her certain questions, and she said that she has a Venezuelan friend that expresses. And
Bless the Cash App, man. Support the show because there's too much knowledge that you can't get in college. I suggest that you pay homage. Game delivered by King Supreme first thing in the morning, man. Let's get it. Yeah. Bless the super chat. Bless the Cash App. Hey, the game gonna continue to come. It's gonna flow through my veins. It's gonna be delivered by King Supreme in a major way. Oh boy. Now let's get it.
anti-blackness. And I said, I would have been walked away from that friendship a long time ago. And she says, "Oh, but I know him for such a long time." And that's when I shared with her this. I was like, you know what? I known this guy for over 10 years. When he expressed that, I started distancing myself like that. I don't care how long I know you.
Crown holder don't understand. Like you got black history everywhere. Blacks, we are the original man. Mexican is not even a race. That's a mixture of a bunch of different things. There was no such thing as a Mexican prior to the 1500s. Blacks been on this planet for centuries. And like I said, because we are the original man. You wouldn't understand that because you think like a Spanish conquistador. That's who brainwashed you. That's who colonized you. So you have the same mindset. Mexicans fought to be legally white. So what does that tell you? That comes from that Spanish conquistador mindset. Your people fought to be legally white. My people never fought to be legally white. When black people fought for civil rights, we fought for the civil rights of all people of color. We fought for the civil rights of all minorities. We didn't fight to be legally white. We fought so that people of color would have equal opportunities in this country. The LULAC organization, they wanted Mexicans to be accepted as white because they felt like that's the only way they could have civil rights is by assimilating to white culture. The LULAC organization wanted they wanted Mexicans to assimilate to white culture. That's why they fought to be legally white. Your civil rights leaders did that, not mine, not ours. Our civil rights leaders never fought to be acknowledged as white people. We said we want people of color and minorities to have equal opportunities. And guess what? When foundational Black Americans fought for civil rights, we didn't just fight for ourselves. We fought for the civil rights of all people of all minorities. Latinos didn't do that. Latinos only fought for themselves. They fought for white acceptance. That's exactly what happened. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to show you the video right after this. And now you're going to have some people, he's spreading hatred. No, I'm giving you the facts about history. I'm giving you the facts about history. I'm not spreading hatred. This is the truth. You can look it up for yourself. The LULAC organization wanted Mexicans to assimilate to white culture. They fought for white acceptance. They didn't fight against it. They fought for white acceptance. Foundational Black Americans fought against it. That's the difference.
If you are anti-black, dude, I don't need to be around you. I've experienced a couple of these sort of things from some of my Mexican or Chicano friends. And another experience that I had is that I had a friend who had three sisters, and his three sisters all had kids. Ironically, with white tea people and with other Mexican people, no problem. But as soon as one of his sisters that already had two kids with a white tea guy, as soon as she got pregnant by a black dude, this is what he expressed. He said, "Man, I'm fucking pissed." And I'm like, "Why? What's up?" "My sister just got pregnant." And I'm like, "Whoa, so what? They already got kids. What are you talking about?" He's like, "Bro, she got pregnant by an N-word, bro." And I'm like, "Okay." He said exactly these words, word for word.
Oh, my knowledge comes, don't just come from YouTube, bro. I've done my study a long time ago. Spanish conquistadors, the LULAC organization, and these are, listen, These are people saying it themselves. I don't have to just go off a YouTube video. It's not my fault that you're ignorant when it comes to history, crown holder. Your people even admitted that, yes, but guess what? I already know this to be true. This is just confirmation of the information that I already had. This is confirmation, bro. Anti-blackness is embedded in Latino culture. This is a known fact. The Spanish conquistadors were very racist and anti-black, so they indoctrinated the people to feel the same way. Every country they colonized, every continent or wherever they colonized, they indoctrinated the people to feel the same way. So anti-blackness is embedded in Latino culture. This is a known fact. Now you can sit up here and deny it, but we all know the truth. You can deny it, but we all know the truth. I've studied history way before I started watching YouTube videos, so I know what I'm talking about. The Spanish conquistadors created a caste system. Yes, exactly.
Word. I don't want to have black nephews and nieces, bro. Like that straight up. And I was like, you're okay with having white tea nieces and nephews. But the idea of black nieces and nephews, that just terrifies you. I don't care how long I've known you. If you express something like that, I'm going to distance myself.
Yeah, let me ask you that. You know what worse than racism?
What's up?
Self-hate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mexicans can't keep their bloodline pure because they're a mixed race people. Mexican is not a race. Mexican, that means a mixture. That's not a race. That's like you crossbreeding 3 races together, then you putting a label on it, but it's not an original race. You got Caucasoid, Negroid, and Mongoloid. Everything else is just a mixture of different races. That is a fact.
Agree, 100%.
So at the same time, even when like I said, meet black people, they love to say the N-word. I'm like, dude, you know, you need, no, man, we took the word.
We don't care. Keep your Mexican bloodline pure. That's okay. We don't need to mix with y'all. I'm just telling you, listen, homie. Your bloodline is not pure because Mexican is not a race to begin with. You got to mix a gang of different people to come up with a Mexican or a Latino. That's not a race. It's not. I'm sorry.
It made it powerful. It's an acronym. Dude, I remember reading that in Vibe magazine in the 90s.
You can't mix a bunch of races to come up with a black person, but you can mix a couple of races to come up with a Mexican or a Latino. Black people, we are the original race. We're the first people to set foot on planet Earth. I know you hate to admit that because you've been taught different. You've been brainwashed by the conquistadors. I get it.
Not true. I said, you really think when you let a Mexican or a white person use the N-word, they say it out of love? Do you really think they go home? Oh no, he's cool. Yeah, they make a caricature in their own minds about you. I don't need for you to say that around them either.
I'm gonna show you the LULAC organization and how they fought to be legally white, how they wanted, and I'm gonna prove this to you. You're gonna be like, whoa, Red telling the truth. Check this out. Let's show this video right here. I'm gonna give you the receipts. The LULAC organization is basically like the civil rights leaders for the Latinos, right? And this is how the LULAC organization felt about black people, right? This is how they felt about black folks. I'm gonna show you. Check it out. Shout out to Ricardo. I think Ricardo is an honest man.
At a young age to not be friends with black people.
Hold on one second. I'm gonna show you the video.
A lot of Hispanic and Latino parents will literally try to teach you at a young age to not be friends.
Like to support the channel. Also, you can do it by way of Patreon, Anchor, the clothing store, and also the shoe shop. I can deal with that situation and that problem.
Now watch. I'm gonna show you quotes, and we're not putting words in their mouth. We're not putting words in their mouth at all. But I want you guys to listen to how the LULAC organization, John J. Herrera, Felix Tejera, how they felt about black people. And these are their words. We're not putting words in their mouth. Their civil rights leaders were anti-black. The conquistadors who brainwashed them were anti-black. So that anti-blackness was spreaded from generation to generation. It's embedded in their culture.
The United States government. Correct? Correct. You can also deal with that conversation when it deals with the police, right? Correct? Correct. But I'm also going to bring up this one thing as well.
Check out.
Dr. Hector Garcia was a physician, military veteran, and advocate for the rights of Mexican Americans. Quote, "We are not and have never been a civil rights organization personally. I hate the word." Hector Garcia, founder of the American GI Forum.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
By the early 1950s, the American GI Forum, while still denying that it was a civil rights organization, sought to end discrimination in Texas schools, in employment, and in the use of public spaces. The core strategy depended on educating Anglos that Americans of Spanish-speaking descent or Latin Americans were Caucasian, and that to identify them as anything but white, whether on birth certificates or traffic citations, was illegal. Making any distinction between Latin Americans and whites, he wrote, was a slur, an insult to all Latin Americans of Spanish descent.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
John James Herrera was an American attorney, activist, and leader in the Chicano movement. Quote, "Latin Americans of Mexican descent belong to the Caucasian race and are therefore white." John J. Herrera, LULAC President, 1952. John James Herrera joined the League of United Latin American Citizens, or LULAC, in 1933 and began practicing law in Houston, Texas in 1943. During World War II, he was involved in the movement to end employment discrimination against Mexican Americans in Houston shipyards. In 1948, he joined the legal team that brought the school discrimination case of Minerva Delgado against the Bastrop Independent School District to the Texas Supreme Court. The ruling declared educational segregation of Mexican American students illegal in Texas.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
Felix Tijerina, 1905 to 1965, was a Mexican American restaurateur, activist, and a philanthropist in Houston, Texas. He served as the 25th president of the League of United Latin American Citizens. Quote, "Let the Negro fight his own battles. His problems are not mine. I don't want to ally with them." Felix Tijerina stated that his mission was to help Mexican Americans merge into the American mainstream as successfully as he had, and that early Mexican restaurants like Felix's were among the first institutions where urban Anglos and Hispanics rebels. Tijerina's Americanized version of Mexican cooking was what brought the races together, and it was a triumph of diplomacy. Walsh also added that Tijerina's style of cooking was not about bringing authentic Mexican flavors to Texas, it was about putting Anglos at ease with things Mexican.
They not like us. They not like us. They
See, I'm giving you the facts, man, how they civil rights leaders fought to be legally white, bro. I didn't making this stuff up, bro. He said, "Let the Negro fight his own battles." Felix Tinajera, a Mexican-American president of LULAC. He was the president of the LULAC organization from 1956 to 1960. "Let the Negroes fight his own battles. His problems are not mine. I do not want to ally with them." This is what he preached to his Mexican people. And guess what? We never needed to ally with them. Never needed them. So that's cool. I'm just letting you know how their civil rights organization, I'm just letting you know how their civil rights leaders felt about us. And I'm giving you the facts. I'm not making any of this up. John J. Herrera said that Mexicans belong to the Caucasian race, but it makes sense because Mexicans fought to be legally white in the 1930s. So when you look at the mindset of their civil rights leaders, it's similar to a Spanish conquistador. They want to be white. And that's okay. I'm just giving you the facts about history. I'm not making any of this stuff up. Don't get mad at the messenger. Get mad at your people who fought to be legally white. Don't get mad at the messenger.
Flavors to Texas, Tijerina's Americanized version of Mexican cooking was what brought the races together, and it was a triumph of diplomacy. Walsh also added that Tijerina's style of cooking was not about bringing authentic Mexican flavors to Texas, it was about putting Anglos at ease with things Mexican.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
Gustavo Gus C. Garcia, July 27, 1915, June 3, 1964, was an American civil rights attorney. Garcia worked with fellow attorney Carlos Cadena in the landmark case Hernandez versus Texas, 1954, arguing before the United States Supreme Court for the end of a practice of systematic exclusion of Hispanics from jury service in Jackson County, Texas. Gustavo stated this: I know Negroes aren't getting their full share of democracy, but frankly, I'm prejudiced against Negroes, and I do not believe that they are entitled to everything that we get. Garcia served as legal advisor to the League of United Latin American Citizens from 1939 to the 1940s. He was elected to the San Antonio Independent School District Board of Education in April of 1948, but later resigned. He helped revise the LULAC Constitution to permit non-Mexican Americans to become members in 1949. In that year, he also
Shout out to Tracy for the Cash App. I appreciate you, Tracy, for the Cash App. So we had a sister that sent a $50 Cash App. We got another one that sent a $20 Cash App. Shout out to Jeremiah for sending a $10 Cash App. Shout out to Back in Action with another $5. And we got another sister, Elizabeth. She said FBA stands strong. She just sent a $15 Cash App. Make sure that you guys bless the show, rightfully so. Game delivered by King Supreme in a major way. Realer than rap, no cap, giving you the hardcore hidden facts. Now let's get back to it.
also served as a lawyer to the family of Felix Longoria, Constitution to permit District Board of Education democracy. Gustavo 1954, July 27, 19.
They not like.
June 3, 1964, was an American civil rights attorney. Garcia worked with fellow attorney Carlos Cadena in the landmark case Hernandez versus Texas, 1954, arguing before the United States Supreme Court for the end of a practice of systematic exclusion of Hispanics from jury service in Jackson County, Texas. Gustavo stated this: I know Negroes aren't getting their full share of democracy, but frankly, I'm prejudiced against Negroes, and I do not believe that they are entitled to everything that we get. Garcia served as legal advisor to the League of United Latin American Citizens from 1939 to the 1940s. He was elected to the San Antonio Independent School District Board of Education in April of 1948, but later resigned. He helped revise the LULAC Constitution to permit non-Mexican Americans to become members in 1949. In that year, he also served as a lawyer to the family of Felix Longoria and helped contract negotiations for the rights of workers in the United States-Mexico Barcero program. On May 8, 1950, Garcia and George I. Sanchez appeared before the State Board of Education to seek desegregation enforcement.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
A lot of Hispanic and Latino parents will literally try to teach you at a young age to not be friends with black people, and it's disgusting. They show you racism, anti-blackness, like colorism at a young age. You could be a dark-skinned Latino, and yet you will get a lot of hate. Not only that, media will even show that too, where literally they show that white Latinos are literally rich, smart, educated, and they're always holy. But when it comes to black people or Afro-Latinos, they're ghetto, they're poor, uneducated, and they're criminals. And not only that, a lot of these celebrities believe this too. And also, they do blackface. And that's why a lot of people don't want to unionize when it comes to the Hispanic and Latino community, because of the amount of fucking anti-blackness, racism towards black people. And not only that, y'all forget that literally black people have influenced our community so much, from technology, from food, to even music. And some of y'all be dancing to those music that literally were influenced by black people.
What does civil rights mean to you?
Like the song in Mexico. La la bamba, da na 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 na, la la bamba. The Africans, the melanated people in Mexico created that song. If you study the history of La Bamba, and I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna give you the receipts. That song, they had a white Mexican performing it. He became the face of the song, but the blacks in Mexico's are the one who had created that song. But they let a white Mexican take credit for it because he was the one in the video singing it. But that song came from the blacks in Mexico, and I can prove it. Reggaeton. What does reggaeton come from? Reggaeton comes from reggae. So a lot of your music in Latin America came from the blacks that was in Latin America. A lot of your dance moves, a lot of your dishes and cuisines came from the black folks in Latin America, not just Mexico. I'm talking Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Cuba, Panama, all these different places. Black culture is deep in these countries. Seriously. If you go to Cuba, the Afro-Cubans are the ones who was doing the jazz because we are musically inclined as black people. Come on, man. You love the Spanish conquistadors, but you hate the black folks. That is crazy. The Spanish conquistadors is the ones that stripped your land and took everything from you. Not the black folks, but the Spanish conquistadors trained you to have animosity and hatred towards black folks while loving the white European who stole your land, who colonized you, who pillaged your communities. Yeah, you was taught to love that Spanish conquistador, and you was brainwashed to have animosity and hatred towards the black folks who never took anything away from you. The Spanish conquistadors stripped you of your language. The Spanish conquistadors stripped you of your culture. The Spanish conquistadors stripped you of your land. The Spanish conquistadors stripped you of everything, but yet and still your animosity and hatred is towards the black folks. But you've been brainwashed to do so.
Hispanic Latino community because of the amount of anti-blackness, the racism towards black people. And not only that, y'all forget that literally black people have influenced our community so much, from technology, from food, to even music. And some of y'all be dancing to those music that literally were influenced by black people.
What does civil rights mean to you? So given the work that you've done on the marker, the fact that you're part of La Típica, and all the things that you've been a part of, what does civil rights mean to you?
To be honest with you, when all the civil rights movement came in with Lyndon Johnson and such, I considered it more as being a benefit to the blacks than to us, because we were already accepted.
So when you did go downtown and there was black and white people intermingling, were the Mexican Americans segregated to where the white people were, or the black people?
To where the white people were.
So you would drink and go through the doors that the white people went through, and white water fountains.
And let's face it, there will always be a problem. There will always be people who look down on you because of your ethnicity. But all you need to do is just look up at them and show them I'm as good or better than you, you know. But I felt that it was helping them more, and I was very glad to see it.
To know, you said earlier about the white and black water fountains in the, I guess, the main areas right near Lee College. Were you allowed to drink from the white fountain?
Yes.
Okay.
I was allowed to drink from the white fountains.
Because when I was growing up and we rode the bus to Houston.
So these are Mexicans telling you that they were allowed to assimilate to white culture. Blacks had to sit at the back of the bus. But it's no surprise because Mexicans did fight to be legally white. So some of them had white privileges because in the census, they were labeled as whites. This is a known fact. I'm giving you the facts. And hey, it is what it is. People gonna get mad at the truth. Don't get mad at the messenger. Get mad at your people who fought to, get mad at your people who fought for white acceptance.
There was one long row on the bus in the back. And
I was allowed to.
And I was very glad to see it.
To know, you said earlier about the white and black water fountains in the main areas right near Lee College. Were you allowed to drink from the white fountain?
Yes.
Okay.
I was allowed to drink from the white fountains.
Because when I was growing up and we rode the bus to Houston, there was one long row on the bus in the back. And that back row was designated for blacks. And that's where they had to sit. I could sit anywhere that I wanted to on the bus, but the blacks had to sit back there. And if that row was full, they had to stand all the way to Houston. They could not sit with the others.
I think many Mexican Americans were afraid. What would happen if we weren't considered white?
She said many Mexican Americans were afraid if they weren't considered white, they would be treated just like black people. So don't never let Mexicans tell you that they were treated like black people. They fought to be white because they didn't want to be treated like black people. They felt like if they were labeled as people of color, that would throw them in the Negro category. So to get out of the Negro category, they fought to be legally white.
I think many Mexican Americans were afraid. What would happen?
Listen carefully to this. These are historical facts. And this ain't just YouTube videos. I've done my own research outside of YouTube, but I brought you these YouTube videos to give you the receipts, to give you the irrefutable facts. Now that's realer than rap, no cap.
There. And if that row was full, they had to stand all the way to Houston. They could not sit with the others.
I think many Mexican Americans were afraid. What would happen if we weren't considered white? How do we know we're not going to be forced or pushed to identify with the black race at a time when black people are fundamentally denied so many basic rights?
I remember downtown, and I didn't understand it because I was raised thinking everybody was equal. And I remember downtown with my mom one time, and Stripling's department store was downtown, Leonard's, Monig's, and going into the stores, and you'd have a colored water fountain and a white water fountain, and colored restrooms, white restrooms. And I used to tell Mom, what color do you have to be to use the colored? Because it was like just foreign to me. And she said, oh, that's for the blacks.
There's money in calling yourself the black supremacist or whatever you want to call yourself. But really, you're just a ghetto.
Oh, wait a minute now. Wait a minute.
You're just a ghetto.
Explain that to me.
That just spills nothing but vile venom garbage out of your mouth. You talk a good one, but you live in the whitest.
No, this is American Cholo talking greasy about Tariq Nasheed. This is American Cholo.
That just spills nothing but vile venom garbage out of your mouth. You talk a good one, but you live in the whitest neighborhood in California. If you're all about that, brother, go live in the hood, brother. But you won't live amongst your black people that you say you love, and you're there.
All black people don't live in the hood, brother. So in order to be real as a black man, you got to live in the hood. You got to live in the ghetto. You sound crazy. So he's saying that Tariq Nasheed ain't real because he don't live in the hood with brother. If you want to be about that brother, go live in the hood. Man, this dude sounds crazy. Let's say Tariq Nasheed moved to the ghetto with his family and something happened to Tariq Nasheed. The first thing you would say is, well, he's dumb for living there. Why was he living in the hood? He must be broke, or maybe he was just dumb. So it don't matter what you do. They're always going to have something to say. If you live in the hood with black people and you got money and something happens, they're going to say you were stupid for living there. If you leave the hood and live in a affluent, decent community, they're going to say you sought out your black people because you don't want to live around your black people. They're always going to have something to say. So you got to do what's best for your family. You got to do what makes sense for you. People like this are going to talk out the side of their neck and don't know what they're talking about. If you're a real brother, you need to live in the hood. If you're a real brother.
Protect, and you, but you live in the whitest neighborhood in California. If you're all about that, brother, go live in the hood, brother. But you won't live amongst your black people that you say you love and you're there to protect and you want better from. It's funny how that works, right? A lot of the ghetto do that. They talk a good one. They say, oh, this is for my people. Oh, I hate the white people. Oh, don't live like that. But yet, you're living the white man's world. You can get up and go anytime you want. You can go live in a black neighborhood, but you won't because you're the ghetto.
And you know, truth be told, I'm not a very big fan of the black people.
You talk a good one just for the views. We've been fighting since the 1800s, brother. Like I said, you guys were enslaved. You guys didn't break those chains until 1865, and even.
And guess what? We were fighting in Mexico. The blacks in Mexico played a major role in Mexico gaining their independence. Blacks in Mexico played a major role in Mexico gaining their independence from Spain. Vincent Guerrero, the second president of Mexico. His nickname was El Negro because he was a black man. Look up Vincent Guerrero. His nickname was El Negro. Gasparianga. They got a town called Rianga in southern Mexico today. Gasparianga and his soldiers defeated the Spanish in several battles in Mexico. So black people in Mexico were fighting. They played a major role in Mexico gaining their independence from Spain, vato. Come on, fool.
And then you're still slaves. Even now.
The N-word, that's what I call the N-word, GA, right?
I used to say that all the time. I actually made a video.
He's saying.
Yeah, I know.
Also the element of racism, of the belief among some Mexican Americans that blackness is inferior.
Shout out to Desmond Hill for blessing us with a 10 on the Cash App, right? Shout out to my man Elliot for blessing us with a 20 on the Cash App. I appreciate you guys for pulling up, showing love on that Cash App. That's realer than rap, no cap. Here to deliver the hard-hitting facts. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah, wait your over turn, equality.
Wait your turn. And to those young raza or raza who want to believe that.
Oh, here goes Sonny. Hey, fool. The raza needs to march. I'm talking heavy protest. And when it comes to blacks getting reparations, tell them no. Tell them no.
You better turn your.
Now, this dude got the nerve to call me a racist, but he said he wanted the raza to march against our reparations as black folks. But he gonna call me a racist for saying that illegal immigrants are border hoppers. Illegal immigrants are border hoppers by definition. But he claimed that that is a racial slur. No, I'm calling them out for an action. Now I want you to hear this. Hey, fool. The raza needs to march in heavy protest to stop blacks from getting reparations. Essay. These are Sonny's words, not my words. Anybody who wants to march against your reparations is an enemy to the black community, 100%.
Is inferior.
Yeah, wait your
over
turn.
Equality.
Wait your turn. And to those young raza or raza who want to believe that, you better turn your TV, brother. You better turn your radio back.
And these are all your Mexican civil rights leaders from the LULAC organization who were clearly anti-black. Alex Tijarera, John J. Herrera. All these Mexicans were either the president or leaders of the LULAC organization, and they were very anti-black. So their civil rights leaders were very anti-black. Now at the bottom of the screen, these are your modern day Latinos, Mexicanos who are clearly anti-black themselves. So they're just carrying on the tradition of anti-blackness in their community. Please believe me. Now I'm gonna be quiet. I want you to hear. You're gonna hear for yourself. Sonny said, no, we need to march and protest and tell them no. Mexican blacks do not deserve reparations. The raza needs to march and protest against black people getting reparations. Essay.
Blackness is inferior.
Yeah, wait your
over
turn.
equality.
Wait your turn. And to those young raza or raza who want to believe that, you better turn your TV, brother. You better turn your radio
So what do you
back.
think about these Black Lives Matter that they want to be paid for being what is it, slaves and all that?
Reparations.
Yeah, there.
Are you talking about? Well, I heard they passed in North Carolina.
Yes.
But it was a small little town in North Carolina that passed reparations for whoever's over there. I'm sure they'll try to do something out here in California. I think they already actually got a little board going that they're going to start looking into it. So
Yeah, and that's when we, the raza, need to step up, protest, and I'm talking major, and turn around and tell them, no, nobody gave reparations until the Native Americans and the Mexicans protest, and I'm talking major, and turn around and tell them no, talking major, and turn around and tell them no, until the Native Americans and the Mexicans get ours first. Until the Native Americans, talking major, and turn around and tell them no, protest, and I'm talking major, and turn around and tell them no, protest, and I'm talking major, and turn around and tell them no, talking major, and turn around and tell them no, talking major, and turn around and tell them no, talking major, and turn around and tell them no, talking major, and turn around and tell them no, nobody gave reparations, until nobody gave reparations, talking major, and turn around and tell them no, nobody gave reparations until the Native, nobody gave reparations, need to step up, protest, and I'm talking major, and turn around and tell them no, nobody gave reparations until the Native Americans and the Mexicans get ours first. We've been going through this crap a lot longer, so I don't want to hear it. Because it's not fair, dog. How are you going to give a bunch of money?
Sonny said, turn around and tell them no. When it comes to the blacks getting reparations, tell them no.
to a not fair, dog. Until the Native Americans need to step up, protest, and I'm talking major, and turn around and tell them no. Protest, and I'm talking major, and turn around and tell them no. Nobody gave reparations until the Native Americans and the Mexicans get ours first. We've been going through this crap a lot longer, so I don't want to hear it. Because it's not fair, dog. How are you going to give a bunch of money to a specific group, dog? This is the United States, a melting pot. How are you going to give it to a specific group?
because right now they've got the white people with so much guilt. It was your parents.
So there's an element of racism and there's an element of fear of Jim Crow segregation.
Did you know that during the Great Depression in the 1930s, the U.S. deported up to...
Sonny said, turn around and tell them no. Turn around and tell them no. The blacks don't deserve reparations. The raza needs to march. I'm talking heavy protests and turn around and tell them no. Turn around and tell them no. All right, all right, Sonny. So it's cool for the United States to spend billions on illegal immigrants, but when it comes to foundational Black Americans getting reparations for our free labor, turn around and tell them no. Tell them no. It's okay for California to spend billions on illegal immigrants who cross the border, Holmes, but when it comes to blacks getting reparations, you turn around and tell them no. Blacks getting reparations, or tell them no. This is unfair, say. The blacks don't deserve reparations. You turn around and tell them no. The raza needs to march. I'm talking heavy protests against black people getting reparations. All right, man. All right, Sonny, you win, Sonny. All right. Turn around and tell them no. All right, Sonny.
meet standards for ethnic cleansing since it was racially motivated and ignored citizenship. A recent study by economists claimed that these mass deportations might have increased on
Oh, shit. Sonny said the raza needs to march in heavy protests against black people getting reparations. Turn around and tell them no. I said,
employment and exacerbated depression. Pause to read an excerpt from this study. This event is known as Mexican repatriation, but since repatriation means a return to one's own country, and many of these people were U.S. citizens who have never been to Mexico, this was not a repatriation at all. This history is not commonly taught in U.S. schools. One study shows.
Hey man, you can't make none of this up. I give you guys receipts for everything I'm saying, so I'm not making anything up. I'm giving you, I'm giving I'm giving you the receipts for everything I said, man. I'm not making none of this stuff up. Yeah. Oh man. Turn around and tell them no. All right, Sonny, tell them no. Let's get 500 people that hit the like button. We got 500 some people watching, but for some reason we only got 300 some people who blessed the like button. Get us up to 500 plus likes. Yeah, turn around and tell them no. All right, Sonny, tell them no. Hit the like button. You already know what it is and what it ain't.
Y'all are all here, which is great, right? I take the money.
Now, I talked the other day about 92.3 The Beat in Los Angeles, and 90-something% of their staff is all Mexican, but they're playing hip hop, which is Black culture. I told you that Mexico Latinos had nothing to do with the creation of hip hop. I showed you videos of Black people breakdancing, rapping prior to any contact with Latinos. The Zoot Suits, if you think about the Pachucos, Dan Calloway in the Harlem Renaissance, the people who did jazz music, Central Avenue in Los Angeles was considered the West Coast Harlem, right? Central Avenue, that's where all your jazz musicians would perform, Central Avenue in Los Angeles. Later on in the 60s, that became the headquarters for the Black Panthers. The Los Angeles chapter of the Los Angeles chapter of the Black Panthers was located on Central Avenue. Prior to that, in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, the Black musicians would go down there to perform their jazz records, the jazz music. And the Latinos was heavily influenced by the Zoot Suiters, so they created the Pachuco culture, but their influence came from the jazz musicians. I said it before and I say it again, music influences culture. So whoever controls the music influences the culture. We've never listened to Latino music as Black people. We never wanted to hear that stuff. Smokey Robinson, Al Green, the Isley Brothers, Marvin Gaye, Bobby Womack, you know what I mean? B.B. King, Barry White, Luther Vandross, funk music. Black people created funk music, R&B, country music, you know what I mean? Rock and roll, R&B, hip hop, the list goes on. Show me a music genre that Latinos created that had any type of urban influence. We've never listened to music from Latino culture because as Black people, we are the trendsetters, we are the creators, we are the culture. So we've never been influenced by another race musically. It's never happened. Whoever dominates the music, let me tell you something, music influences culture. And foundational Black Americans have always dominated music. So that means that we've always influenced culture. The Mexican Pachucos in the 40s and stuff like that, they were heavily influenced by the jazz musicians. That's where they got the Zoot Suits from. Because the Black musicians in the 20s and 30s, they made the Zoot Suit popular. And that's where the Mexicans got it from. They were heavily influenced by the Zoot Suiters, the people who wore Zoot Suits, the Dan Callaways and the Harlem Renaissance and all that. Study the history of Central Avenue in Los Angeles. That's where all the jazz musicians went to perform in the early 1900s. So the Pachuco culture clearly comes from the Black musicians who made the Zoot Suits popular. Study hip hop today. Mexicans rap like they're Black people. They dress like us. They talk like us. History has a way of repeating itself. The same way that the Pachucos got their influence from the Zoot Suiters, the black jazz musicians, is the same way that these young Mexican gangbangers get their influence from black people who are rappers, black people who created hip hop. They talk like us, they rap like us. Mexicans don't even rap like Mexicans no more. They rap like black people, they talk like black people. Their whole get down is like black people. If you don't believe me, listen to some of these young Mexican rappers. You're like, damn, they sound black. They're trying their best to replicate and imitate black culture. It is that obvious. Everybody sees it. Anyway, man, let's get into this. And we're going to talk about how Power 92.3 The Beat is gatekeeping black culture. But all they want to hire is Latinos and Mexicanos at 92.3 The Beat when they're using black culture to make money. Now imagine a group of outsiders gatekeeping our culture. That's crazy. They want to, all you see is Mexicanos and Latinos at 92.3. They might have 2 or 3 black people working there behind the scenes, if that.
But it's kind of weird, you know, rapping or singing to y'all when I made this for us. So we got to do a little bit of gatekeeping, right? So anyway, I got to say thank you for bearing with me. You know what? It's hot here in Houston. It's going to be like 80 something degrees today. So just thought I'd throw that out there if y'all see me sweating. But anyway, I know there's a lot of comments, but let me try to get as far to the top as possible. My goal is always to beat the comment section, so we'll see if I can do that. So who do we have on here that I did not see so far? Albie Chill, did I say hello to you? Hello, it says their chief editors are on code with each other. Yes, they are. They know that there's a lot of money in black culture, hip hop culture, and they are gatekeeping all of that. And they're like, yeah, we're going to get all of our people in. But you know what? I'm not mad at it. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do for your people. Get your people to jobs, get your people to positions, get your people in high places and spaces, right? But unfortunately, they are in black spaces. That's why I said Latino faces in black spaces, because they don't want to go do their stuff, right? They want to be in our stuff and then tell us.
And that's true. They want to be in our stuff. I showed you videos of black people breakdancing in the 1920s, 30s. Showed you videos of black people rhyming over beats prior to any contact with Latinos. If you listen to early rap music, all they did was sample the oldies. Listen to the early rap records in the 1970s. All they did was sample jazz records, R&B records, music from our oldies, right? Listen to the music that black people created in the 60s, then you listen to the music that Latinos created in the 60s. They had nothing to do with the creation of hip hop. Participation is not creation. You're not going to get away with telling these lies. Microphone Check crush all the lies that they've been telling about being 50% creators of hip hop. We destroyed those lies. We crushed it. We dismantled it. We threw it in the garbage. Black folks ain't never needed another race of people to help us create no damn music. That's one of the biggest lies that they ever tried to tell. If you listen to the music they created in the 50s and 60s, it had no urban culture. We've never been influenced by their music. We've never even listened to their music to be influenced by it. But guess what? They've always been influenced by our music. That's the major difference. Whoever dominates music influences culture. Music influences culture, hands down. And who's always dominated music in America? That's foundational Black Americans, which means we influence the culture because we dominate the music. It's only common sense.
Got the nerve, the audacity to tell us how we could feel about being Black and our stuff. It's just bananas to me, you know. DJ, how you doing? I hope you're doing well. So yes, it's true. He says, I'm going to tell in your comment, cut off. Alvarez, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Let's see, Sister Sunlight in the building. Hope you're having a great day. Stephen, how you doing? Says Black American, nobody loves us. Guess what?
If you listen. If you pay attention to all the new dance moves in hip hop, that's foundational Black Americans. If you pay attention to all the new rap styles, foundational Black Americans. Show me one rap style that Latinos made popular? You can't name one. Show me a new dance move that Latinos made popular. All the dance moves, crunk rap. You got crunk, you got drill rap, you got gangster rap. You got people who rap in melodies, people sing while rapping. All these rap genres, these different styles of rap were made popular by black people. Latinos have no influence in hip hop. Latinos just copy and mimic what we do to stay relevant in a culture that's ours. If you look at all the new dance moves in hip hop, it's foundational Black Americans. And I'm not saying this out of hatred. I'm saying it because it's actually true. Latinos have no influence in hip hop. Nobody raps like them. Nobody dresses like them. Nobody talks like them. Everybody mimics the way that black people rap, the way that we talk, the way that we dress, the way that we dance. Foundational Black Americans, we are the creators. We are the trendsetters. We are the culture 100%. That's hands down. And I got all the evidence. I got tons of evidence to back up everything that I'm saying. I'll produce receipts with no problem.
We don't give up. It says, P.S. We're very happy. Yeah, we're very happy, and this is in no form as like for validation. Like, oh please, oh, why don't you like us? We really don't care. But what we do care about is when you try and you come and commandeer our spaces and you try to rewrite the rules because you ain't saying this is, Latino culture. This is hip hop culture, right? And they always try to do that. Well, we was there, this, that, you was probably there. You being in the room don't mean it, but you.
See, when Latinos say we was there, that's like black people saying, well, we live next door to Mexicans in LA, so we created tacos. And some people might even dispute who created tacos, but I'm not even going to get into that. Foundational Black Americans that moved to New York took their culture with them. That's like Jamaicans who moved to New York took their culture with them. The Puerto Ricans who moved to New York, they took their culture with them. Foundational Black Americans who lived in the Bronx are the ones who created hip hop. Because if you listen to the early hip hop music, all they did was sample music from the oldies. And who created the oldies? Foundational Black Americans. Hip hop is just sampling music that came before hip hop. That's all it is. All of your early hip hop records were sampling oldies. I can show you videos of us breakdancing back in the 1920s and 30s. Prior to any contact with Latinos, we was already breakdancing, rhyming. Pig Meat Markham, here comes the judge. Here comes the judge. We was already doing hip hop. Listen, in the 1970s, we just happened to put a label on hip hop, but hip hop was already a part of our culture. It's been going on. We just put a stamp on it in the 70s. But we was already breakdancing and rhyming over beats. It was already a part of our culture, and you can see it in our music. That's the major difference.
Man, I've been in a room, in the parking lot with a Rolls Royce, with a Lamborghini, but that don't mean it's mine. So what are we doing here? That's that old shut up, because we were there too. You were there. But this has nothing to do with you. Nowhere, anywhere does it say anything about Mexican in hip hop correlated together. Like, we were the founders of that. It's just not true, but they're trying to.
I'm here to destroy the lies, and I'm going to piss off a gang of people in the process, because for too long, people have been latching on to our culture for financial gain, for their own benefit, and the buck stops today. It stops today. I'm speaking for my people. We're going to gatekeep our culture just like everybody else gatekeeps their culture. Everybody gatekeeps their culture. Foundational Black Americans, we've been way too nice to these outside groups, allowing them to join our culture. Then eventually they're going to rewrite history by lying and telling everybody that somehow they helped us to create hip hop, which is a bold-faced lie. Hey, microphone check and the work from me and along with a lot of other brothers, we destroyed those lies that's told by these people talking about they're 50%. They're 50% creators of hip hop. One of the biggest lies ever told. You can't listen to any music that they created prior to hip hop and see no elements of hip hop. We never even listened to that music as Foundational Black Americans. We've never listened to their music. We've never been influenced by their music. Matter of fact, when they would turn that music on, we were like, oh my God, turn that off. We never wanted to listen to that stuff. And that's just the honest to God truth. Your parents played salsa music and merengue. If you came outside playing that, nobody wanted to hear that music. But if we came outside as foundational Black Americans bumping some Al Green, some James Brown, the Isley Brothers, everybody was rocking with it. Everybody was grooving to it. Why? Because the music that we create as foundational Black Americans influences the whole world. Everybody gravitates to the music that foundational Black Americans created, not the other way around. Nobody has ever listened to their music and never been influenced by it. Never. So it's crazy for them to tell that bold-faced lie like they had something to do with the creation of hip-hop. That is one of the biggest lies ever told in the face of the, that's one of the biggest lies ever told.
Rewrite it that way, right? Let's see here, skipping down, the silent investor. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Robert, what's going on? She says this is personal and messy. Well, I mean, in regards to her, I don't know. I can't speak for her. If it was me writing that post, and for those of y'all that may have come on here a little bit late, this is the post in question.
Shout out to Tyrone, man, for blessing us with a 10. Tyrone P blessed us with a 10 on the Cash App. He said, talk that talk, bro, and I'm gonna continue to talk that talk. I'm gonna continue to walk that walk.
Basically, Slauson girl, she's a big time. To me, she is in South Central Los Angeles, Slauson area, and all that. You know, just telling the news and the story from that area. So there it is. She basically said that I dated him. You know, it's been years ago from what she was saying. He's married now. His wife is Letty Ortiz on.
Make sure that you guys smack that like button. It's very important that you guys smack that like button and show your love and major support for the content, because I'm delivering the hard-hitting facts. You know, too many Blacks in Los Angeles, they spend too much time arguing with each other instead of fighting for the culture, instead of standing up for their people. That's what I mean when I say too many Crips and Bloods in Los Angeles put gangbanging before they race. They lack pride. They lack structure. They lack discipline and order. You want to argue with other Black people all day about nonsense. But when it's time to speak up for your people, when it's time to protect your culture, the majority of these guys say absolutely nothing. They want to talk about gang banging in prison and goofy stuff. It's cool to address that because we from LA, we grew up in gang culture, but it's at a certain particular time, you got to advance past that way of thinking. That is a childish mindset to be in your 30s and 40s and still be promoting gang banging. Now it's cool to talk about it. Ain't nothing wrong with it from time to time, but when 90% of your content revolves around gang culture, then you're an immature little kid. You're spreading dysfunction. Because you know a lot of people want to hear that garbage, but at the end of the day, that is bottom feeder content. That is low frequency content. You got grown men in their 50s arguing back and forth about gang politics as if the feds ain't watching, as if the feds ain't listening, just stuck on stupidity. It's way too many Black LA brothers who spend all their time arguing with other people online about gang politics all day. That is goofy. Gang content is some of the most goofiest content on the internet because you got guys, oh man, I'm gonna pull up, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Listen, homeboy, you can stay in the streets if you want to pull up and do that. Why bring that? Why bring that foolishness to YouTube or social media? If you want to gang bang and pull up on people, keep that off of the internet because the feds is watching, the feds is listening. So gang content is some of the most goofiest content. Why do I say this? Because gang bangers incriminate themselves all day, every day for the sake of making content. That is the goofiest content on the internet. If you didn't gang banged on the streets, then why bring it to the internet? Keep it in the streets. Why bring that goofy behavior to the internet? Because the feds is watching and the feds is listening. You seen what happened to Brick Baby. You seen what happened to Loose Cannon. You seen what happened to Big U. That's what happens when you discuss gang politics on the internet, talking about who you gonna pull up on, who you rob, who you extorted, who you gonna beat up, who can't come back to the hood. That is the goofiest content on the internet. I promise you it is. That is bottom feeder content. You got grown ass men who incriminate themselves on the internet talking about gang politics all day.
Power 106, and it's all, you know, Hispanic. Again, it sounds like it's bought maybe by a Latino company, but that's his wife. And so a lot of people are saying that Slauson girl is jealous. You know, she's mad, but she says this was years ago. And she says that they have been in other spaces before, but now it just seems like she says, I guess within the last 6 months or so, that he just It's keeping her out. She's covered, you know, the marathon.
I don't make gang content. I could easily make I can easily make gang content about the things that I went through growing up in Los Angeles. But I'm not going to waste my time arguing with a bunch of degenerates about gang culture and incriminating myself on the internet. I'm too smart for that. I'd rather educate people about history and things that's going to empower our people. I'm not going to waste my time arguing with prison niggas and niggas who are in their 40s and 50s that want to argue about gangbanging all day. That is low frequency, low vibrational content. I refuse to engage in that. Not going to argue with these low frequency, low intelligent having people about stuff that don't matter and the feds is listening and the feds is watching it. Gang content is the goofiest content on the internet, I promise you. You know how many gang members have incriminated themselves by talking too much on the internet? It's goofy. If you a gangster, keep it in the streets. Why incriminate yourself on the internet, fool?
Nipsey Hussle and Sam's, you know, adventure or before. But she says not, he just won't let me do it. So I don't know if it's personal, but she says it's not. I don't know. It's really probably they would know. Fair use, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Kingston, what's going on? Says that guy is always at the marathon events. Yes, so it sounds like he's very over the day-to-day operations of that, and she specifically named him as gatekeeping and keeping her out of that. You know, and she's like, I'm a Black journalist here. Like, I'm boots on the ground here, you know, and I've done this before. So why am I being denied access? And why is it you that's denying me access? Why are you denying me access to Black culture that I've already covered a copious amount of?
Yeah, man. All I'm saying is this, man. I see these cats in LA, you know what I mean? And they just argue about gang stuff all day. And a lot of these guys are in their 40s and 50s. Imagine being in your 40s and 50s arguing about gang politics on social media every day. That is the goofiest content on the internet. Keep gang politics in the streets. Why come to the internet just to incriminate yourself? You're making the feds' job too easy. You are making the feds' job way too easy. But I get it. That's the only thing they can talk about. They don't have the mindset or the intelligence to talk about anything else. This is why you got guys in their 40s and 50s who just want to talk about gangbanging all day because they don't have the intelligence to talk about other things. That's the reality, unfortunately.
Why are you doing that? Is it to do with his wife? So basically, you're saying your Latino wife is calling the shots. She's saying who can cover Black culture and who can't. Is that what you're saying? Like, let us know, right? Maybe we could try to get an interview with old boy or whatever. But you know, I understand what she's saying. What's going on here? Like, I'm not trying to be with you. I'm just trying to get the news out from Black point of view, right? Not everybody else, because you know, it sounds like there are some Black people there from what they're saying. I don't know how true it is, but she's like, I'm an OG up in here.
Listen, man, we're gonna wrap this up. She's talking about Slauson girl who dated this Mexican guy that was in Nipsey Hussle's camp. He was Nipsey Hussle's road manager, and he did the all money in logo, but he was an illegal immigrant. Then eventually he got citizenship. And once he got citizenship, he married a Mexican woman, but he dated a Black woman by the name of Slauson girl when he was trying to get on. But once he got on, he went back to his culture, back to his community. His wife works for 92.3 The Beat, and he works for the Marathon, you know, TMC. He works under Black Sam. He was Nipsey Hussle's road manager. Now, Slauson girl is saying that he's gatekeeping. He's not allowing her to come to any of these events. I didn't really get into that because anytime there's something to do with male and female, you just never know. She could be saying this out of bitterness, or she could be telling she can be giving us the irrefutable facts. I don't know. My thing is this, sister, you should have already knew what it was. You should have already knew what it was. So to come out, so to expose this now, it's gonna look like you're just bitter because the guy is not with you anymore. People gonna paint the picture like you're bitter. They're gonna paint the picture like you are bitter because he moved on and found a Mexicana wife. He got a Mexican woman and he wants nothing to do with you anymore. You might be telling the truth, but from the outside looking in, they're gonna say, oh, she just bitter because he don't want her no more. Then he's going to say, oh, she's making it about race. She's pulling a race card because I don't want nothing to do with her. I told Black Sam I don't want her at these events because of da-da-da-da and da-da-da. So if you can't come to those events, he can't stop you from coming up there. Black Sam has to give the okay. Because Black Sam is the leader of the marathon movement. So maybe he convinced Black Sam that you were bad for business, and that's why he didn't want you at these events. I'm just saying. Because ultimately, Black Sam is the one who makes the decisions about who can come and who can't come. Y'all remember that dude from West Boulevard Crip that pulled up to the Marathon Burger? Black Sam said, no, you can't come over here, homie. You got to bounce. Black Sam makes decisions of who can come or who can't come. Y'all know that Crip dude, I forget his name. I don't remember his name. But the Crip dude who tried to pull up to Marathon Burger, and Black Sam said, no, homie, you ain't coming over here. You got to bounce. You've been hanging around Whack 100. You've been hanging around people who've been talking bad about Nipsey Hussle. No, sir, you ain't welcome here. Black Sam made that decision to get rid of that dude. You dig? So I don't think the Mexican guy has the power to keep you out of these events because everything has to go through Black Sam. That's my honest opinion.
And you're keeping me out. And she's saying there's no, Black women at all, journalists covering any of that stuff. So, yeah. And somebody says, I've seen her on.
Right. His name was Rockstar 2800. Because West Boulevard Crip is on 28th Street. Black Sam said, nah, homeboy, you can't come up in here. Now, Slauson girl, I don't have nothing against you. I got love for you because you still our sister. But what I'm saying, at the end of the day, that Mexican cat don't make the decisions about who can come, who can't come. Black Sam got to make that decision. The Mexican cat he was Nipsey Hussle's road manager, and he the one that did the logo for the marathon. But he don't make decisions about who can come around and who can't come around. Black Sam makes those decisions. So I don't know what happened. So I don't even want to dive too deep into that. It sounds like a relationship that went sour and now they're at odds with one another. And God knows why. And I ain't even going to get into that. But anyway, man, hit the like button if you haven't already. Peace, love, and blessings. Giving you game to keep you from stressing. Shout out to Afro Nat. You got we got a few people. Afro Nat blessed us with a 10 on the Cash App. I appreciate you, Afro Nat, for the 10 on the Cash App. Shout out to my man Cedric. My man Cedric has blessed us with a 20. Cedric blessed us with a 20 on the Cash App. I appreciate everybody for pulling on up and showing their love and support in a major way. King Supreme delivering straight lace game on a Saturday morning, man. You dig. Oh, yeah. Hit the like button. It ain't nothing. The schoolyards are on Washington. The West Boulevards are on Adams. The schoolyards is on Washington and West Boulevard. If you go to Washington and West Boulevard, that's schoolyard hood. But if you go down the hill, if you go on West Boulevard, you go down the hill to Adams. As soon as you get to Adams, that's West Boulevard hood. The 10 freeway separates West Adams from the Mid-City District, but it's adjacent to one another. All you got to do is walk on the other side of the freeway, then you in Midtown. You go south of the 10 freeway, you in West Adams. I'm giving you the real. The truth is a bitter pill. Me being from Los Angeles, I understand it. You know what I'm saying? Hey, foundational Black Americans, we're going to stand on business. We're going to gatekeep our culture. People been getting away with this nonsense for way too long, and we're here to put our foot down. You dig what I'm saying? Too many Black content creators in Los Angeles spend all day arguing with one another over game politics. But when it's time to stand up for the culture, when it's time to stand up for the people, it's crickets. They never say anything. They make content about Black people going back and forth all day, every day. The 20s is east of Crenshaw. The schoolyards is west of Crenshaw. Like if you on Adams, let's say you on Washington Boulevard. If you on Washington Boulevard, you got the 20s and Blackstones that's east of Crenshaw, and the schoolyards is west of Crenshaw. If you on Washington Boulevard. Now, if you on Adams right there, if you on Adams, that's the Biddy Stones. Now on Washington, that's the Biddy Stones as well too. Like if you on Washington and 12th Ave, the swap meet right there, that's Black P Stone. Now if you go back to Washington, east of Arlington, then that's the Avenue 20s. But soon as you go west of Arlington on Washington, that's the Biddy Stone. So the Biddy Stones and 20s intersect with one another. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is, though, man. Peace to everybody. I got to get up out of here. It is what it is. King Supreme, you already know in the game. Peace, love, and blessings, giving you game to keep you from stressing. It's your player partner, King Supreme. Make sure that you like this stream. I got to get up out of here, man. I'm gone. Salute to the family.